Good morning, everybody. It's 9 o'clock, and 9 o'clock is with me, Father Warner. Today is the Thursday of the 20th week in Ordinary Time. Our text is taken from Ezekiel chapter 36, verse 23 to 28. And I've entitled today's teaching, Heart Transplant. So let's read the text first, and then I will explain it to you. I will sanctify my great name, which has been profaned among the nations, and which you have profaned among them. And the nations shall know that I am the Lord, says the Lord God, when through you I display my holiness before their eyes. I will take you from the nations and gather you from all the countries and bring you into your own land. I will sprinkle clean water upon you, and you shall be clean from all your uncleanliness, and from all your idols I will cleanse you. A new heart I will give to you, and a new spirit I will put within you, and I will remove from your body the heart of stone and give you a heart of flesh. I will put my spirit within you and make you follow my statutes and be careful to observe my ordinances. Then you shall live in the land that I gave to your ancestors, and you shall be my people, and I shall be your God. The word of the Lord. So as we continue with our study of the prophet Ezekiel, we are reflecting on the oracles of restoration that are found in the middle section of the prophet Ezekiel, chapters 33 to 39. These are oracles of restoration. Chapters 40 to 48 will be also oracles of restoration, but focusing more on the temple. Now, this section that we have done is dedicated to the oracles that pertain to the land and the people, and this chapter in particular focuses on the restoration of the community, the people, the community that live in that land. So when we look at this text, we are looking really at the high point of Ezekiel's theology of salvation and justification. This theology of salvation and justification is based solely on the fact that it is God's grace and His grace alone that saves us. The words of Ezekiel, if you listen very carefully, are very similar to the words of his predecessor, the prophet Jeremiah, who says practically the same words. Read Jeremiah chapter 31, verse 31 to 34. It's those very famous words of a new covenant that God makes with us. And I made reference of it also in yesterday's teaching. Now, our focal verses in this text is 24 to 28. Our text today is taken from 23 to 28, but this is the focal verse, 24 to 28. And 24 to 28, these focal verses are midway through an oracle that begin a little earlier in chapter 36, verse 16, and it ends with chapter 36, verse 38, the end of the chapter. Now, the first part, prior to verse 24, the first part, the opening verses of the oracle, provide a history of the house of Israel, which focuses on their misdeeds. That's the first part. They are reminded in that section of their past and their disobedience. But the prophecy does not end there. Despite these actions, and precisely because of God's concern for God's holy name, God will now act to rescue them and restore His holy name. So God, if you saw in verse 23, begins by reminding the Israelites that He has been perceived as ineffective in the eyes of the other nations because of the wickedness of His people Israel. It was Israel that provoked God's hand, that forced God to send them into exile. Now, the scattering of the Jews among the nations gave the impression that Yahweh could not protect His people. What has been undone by the Israelites, by their behavior, by their action, therefore now can only be restored by God. So that seeing the actions of God who restores His people, seeing these actions of God, the nations may recognize once again and glorify the one true God. I guess in a way the same can be said of every Christian who by their behavior, desecrates the holy name of God. Sanctifying and glorifying the name, the person and the power. Sanctifying and glorifying the person and the power of God is what God's people are called to do. A fact that is made so evident in the prayer we say every day, the Lord's Prayer. Hallowed be thy name. May your name be different from other names. May we hold it in high esteem. May we hallow it. Now think about it. Perhaps, and I've said this before as a thought, it's taken from a song that I heard several years ago. And I think my dear friend Vivian Pocha used to sing it very beautifully. There's a song that says that we are the only Jesus some may ever see. And what if our actions bring scandal to the church and to the name of God? Then seeing us, people are scandalized. Seeing us, people do not follow Christianity. Seeing us, people do not follow not Christianity, but seeing us, people do not follow Christ. So this restoration that we are told of, that God has planned, involves several things. In fact, it involves three things. First, it involves a gathering of His people scattered among the nations. From, as God says, from us, and I'm putting this in inverted commas, from our sinful lands, the lands that we have now got used to, the lands of sin, from our, as the book of Exodus says, from our flesh pots of Egypt. Yeah, the people of Egypt wanted to stay back because that's where they got their meat from. They didn't want to be liberated. They rather fill their stomachs. So from our sinful lands, from our flesh pots of Egypt that we have created for ourselves, God says, I'm going to take you out of that. I'm going to pluck you out. The focus, therefore, on this text is on His grace, not our merit. He takes us out of our sinful lands, not because we deserve it, because He loves us. When Ezekiel first gave this prophecy, Israel was practically desolate. Her people were in exile. Yet Yahweh promised to not only bring them back, His people, from the Babylonian captivity, but He also promised a greater and more complete gathering to come. God didn't give them the land because they were righteous. And He won't restore the land because of anything good that they have done. God, in His grace, gives us what we very often do not deserve. That's the understanding of mercy and grace. We do not deserve it, yet God plucks us out and rescues us. So the book of Ezekiel contends that the exile is a punishment for the people's corruption. It is for this reason that they are in need of purification. By what we see, a simple ritual action of sprinkling clean water, Yahweh will cleanse His people from their former ways, of lives that are steeped in sin, lives that are steeped in idolatry. From your idols I will cleanse you. Finally, He will give His people His once, as Ezekiel called it, His rebellious people. He will give these rebellious people a new heart and a new spirit. By this, He will replace their hearts of stone with hearts of flesh. Notice that they don't need a spiritual heart. They were in need of a beating heart. They were in need of a working heart. This is the spiritual transformation that is promised in the new covenant. Instead of the law working from the outside in, God has promised a new heart to work from the inside out. You don't have to be told what to do. You will know what to do. Our conscience tells us this is right. Our conscience tells us this is wrong. For the Jews, this concept of a new heart, this new spirit, for the Jews, the heart was the seat of thinking and loving. So, in giving them a new heart, God was giving them a new way of looking at life, not from their point of view, but from God's point of view. But it was also a new spirit, we are told, that they were to get. The new spirit is the power of life as an entire nation that they were to be given, not just power as individuals who are living in a nation. The people are told now that they will be transformed through this heart surgery. that God wants to perform. And they will be renewed in this covenantal relationship with God. Ezekiel, if you listen carefully, uses the language of Exodus. He also uses the language of the prophet Jeremiah to explain this bond. And I want to leave you with this line of great love. You shall be my people. I shall be your God. Today I want to wish my dear friend Brinston a very happy birthday. He works at the Catholic Communication Center and has been a dear friend. He and his wife Joyce, I was happy to be there for their wedding. As I told Brinston and Joyce on their wedding, there were several priests and I was asked by the celebrant, I think it was Father Nigel, would you like to go down and give them Holy Communion? And as I was giving them Holy Communion, I thought to myself, and I told them later, while I said the grace, I think at their reception, I said, Brinston and Joyce, I may have not got you married, but I was the first to give you Jesus the minute you got married. And I thought, what a great privilege that was. It's a thought that has stayed with me always when I think of Brinston and Joyce. Brinston, happy birthday, my friend. I want to, many of you might not know, but the blog Potty Padre is maintained by Brinston. Every time something goes wrong with the blog, I have to call him up. We pay for this blog. We pay for it because so that it's a protected site, and we pay almost, I think, about 34,000 a year just to maintain the blog. This is paid not to Brinston, poor chap, but to the company. But Brinston has been always very, very kind to look after our blog. So many of you who receive it know that Brinston is behind this. Thank you, my friend. God bless you. Have a happy birthday. To the rest, thank you for your love. Thank you for watching these videos every day. Thank you for liking it. I know you'll do that. Thank you for subscribing it. Sometimes just clicking that button, subscribe, like, leave a comment, helps boost this message and reach out to many more. God bless you, everybody. I'll see you tomorrow, 9 o'clock. 9 o'clock is with Father Warner. See you tomorrow.